What's up, guys? Back at y'all with another Vodinh poker vlog. This session comes to you as a 6-hour split session. Did 4 hours playing, took a dinner break, and then 2 more hours, and then calling it a night after that. I'm going to take the time to advertise our 52 social poker series. We have a 90K guaranteed this weekend, a bunch of other big guaranteed tournaments throughout the week, and then our big 120K guaranteed 4-day 1 flights Friday and Saturday, 2 morning flights Friday, Saturday, and then 2 evening flights those same days, with the day 2 on Sunday. Buy-in's $460, re-entry tournament, not rebuy, so $460 every time you want to come back in if you bust. I'll be firing a bullet on Friday and dealing the 2 flights Saturday, so I hope to see some of y'all out there. Anyways, let's get into the poker. So in the beginning of the session, we switch it up a bit here. We buy in for $500 instead of our usual $1,000. The only reason I did this is because the $500 is enough to cover everyone on the table, and we don't need to get too splashy with it. We want to play some solid poker today, ABC, get it in good, and run good. So our first hand, we have 10-9 diamonds under the gun. We open for $13. Cutoff makes it $30. Comes back to us. I think it's an easy cold call here, going heads up with suited connectors. We can play this hand pretty well and easily post flop. Flop comes 9-6-5, so we flop top pair with runner diamonds, or sorry, runner straight. We check it to him. He continues for $25 in a $64 pot. This is an easy call for us with top pair. Turns a favorable one. It's a 9. On this card, we continue to check. We want him to continue bluffing with his entire range. If we bet here and he folds, we lose any possible value we could get from the hand. So we do check. Unfortunately, he does check back, but that's not a problem. River comes a 6, so we fill up 9s fulls of 6s. I bet $60 leading into the pot. We don't want to check and have him unfortunately check back. He does tank for a while and then make the call, so we pick up a nice pot for our first hand. And this next hand in orbit has gone around. We're under the gun again with Queen 10 of spades. We limp, looking to limp call any raise ahead. If I open early here and someone 3-bets, we have to fold, so I like to just limp call here in the spot. The cutoff, small blind limp, and the big blind checks it, so we do go 4 ways to limp pot, sadly enough, but the flop comes decent for us. It's ace-king 9 rainbow, so we flop a gutter ball to the Broadway. Small blind, big blind check it. I think with the equity here, we can fire once to try to take down the dead money, so we fire 10 into $12. Cutoff folds, small blind calls, and big blind folds, so we go heads up with the small blind. Turn comes to 8 of diamonds. Nothing really changes. We still have the gutter to the jack. Small blind checks it. We decide to check it back, trying to realize our equity and get there on the river. If he has an ace or king, he's probably going to call us, so there's no reason to bet. We only have to look to hit our jack. River comes, the bink card, jack of spades. So we hit the Broadway. Small blind bets $15. The pot's 47 now. I like the overbet here because it's either we have a bluff or we just have the nuts here. Nothing else beats us, and we have the nuts, so we're going to try to go for max value. Maybe we size down a bit to get a crying call, maybe 50 to 60, but I do overbet to 80 here, and the small blind doesn't think too long before folding. I just put in this hand because it's a quick one showing the difference between a good player and a gambling player, and there are a lot of gambling players in Texas that would probably make this snap call. Anyways, we have ace-jack of diamonds in the cutoff. Under the gun opens for $17. We 3-bet here with the suited ace, strong suited ace to 45. Under the gun doesn't think too long before jamming all in for $200. Most players here would probably call, but we know his range has to be queens or better, which means we only have the live card to the ace, if the ace at all. So we do fold, and the undergun shows us aces and says it's a good fold. A lot of people probably just think that's a standard fold, but you'd be surprised at how many people in Houston would probably make that call immediately. In this next hand, we have king 4 of clubs on the big blind. The button limps it. Small blind min clicks to $6. For $3 more, I'm not going to be folding the suited king here, so I do make the call. Button also makes a call, so we go 3 ways to flop. Flop comes decent. It's king 3-5, 2 spades and a heart, so we flop top pair. Just a crappy kicker. The small blind checks, and I check it here. I don't want to scare them off the pot with a king. If they had a king, they'd probably bet, or if they had any 3 or 5, they'd probably bet to protect their hand. If I bet and they fold, then I think we lose perceived value here, so I do decide to check, and the button checks as well. So we go 3 ways to to turn of the 4 of diamonds. So now we have 2 pair, kings and 4s. The small blind leads out for $9 here. I think I can raise here, but I do decide to just flat to bring in the button in case he has some marginal hand as well. So I do in fact call, and the button calls. I ask the small blind if he has a wheel, funnily enough. The river comes the jack of spades, and the small blind leads out for 20. So at this point, before I make the call, I'm asking him, do you really have the wheel? Of course, we're not going to fold here with our two-pair hand. It's very under rep. We're not going to raise here either in case he does have the ace deuce or the deuce 6 or 6-7. So we do decide to just make the flat 20, and he does show us the wheel. So unlucky hand, but it's a case of blind on blind action and can't really do much about it. In this hand we have pocket 9s in the big blind. Hijack, cutoff, button, all limp it. Small blind folds. We're not going to let people in this easy, and we want to take down the dead money with our pocket pair. We try to avoid a flop if possible. So he raises up to $23. Hijack folds. The cut and calls with only maybe $25 behind or so. And the button folds. So we go heads up to a flop, comes ace, deuce, 3. If we bet here and the person has an ace, we're just throwing away $25, so there's no reason to c-bet here. So we check it, hijack checks it back. On the turn at 8 of hearts, I don't think they have an ace anymore, so if anything, let's get the money in and flip with whatever they might have, a non-believing king or a crying call, or maybe they have some 8x or lower pocket pair, so we go all in and put them in for the $25 behind and they end up folding. Next hand, we wake up with ace queen again, under the gun, off suit. We open for $20 and the under the gun +1 calls us. Everyone else folds, so we go heads up to a flop. Comes ace 4-8 rainbow, pretty good flop for us. We decide to down bet here to keep hands that didn't hit in, as well as charge weaker ace x hands. So we bet $15 and the +1 in fact calls us. Turn brings the 7 of diamonds, so diamond draws there with the straight, the 5-6. So we're going to charge any diamond draw or straight draw. So we bet $40 into the $73 pot. The +1 calls us again. River brings the 7 of clubs, so now we have aces and 7s with the queen kicker. We want to get value from any weaker ace x hand, so we bet $100 and $153 and the +1 fold pretty quickly. In this hand we have 10-9 of spades in the +1. Under the gun makes it $12. We have an easy call here again with suited connector. Everyone else folds, so we're going heads up to a flop. Comes king, jack, 7. So we're double gutted. 2 diamonds on the board. Under the gun checks. I think we can check here just to charge or build a pot with whatever equity we have. But we do decide to check it back. The turn brings the jack of clubs. So now there's the club draw and the diamond draw. We obviously have the spades, so that's no good. Only outs that we have are queens and 8s. And we'd probably like them to not be the diamond or a club. Under the gun bets $10. For that price, we're not going anywhere. So we do in fact call. River brings the 9 of diamonds. When the under gun bets $30, we have a pretty easy fold here. We're only hero calling bluffs, which would be missed clubs on the turn. That's probably the only thing that we're beating at this point. When he opens under the gun, he most likely has a king or a jack. A jack X holding is probably more likely in his range, seeing as he checked the flop and not bet for value if he had a king X hand, and then he led for the turn, so it's most likely that he has some jack X hand and then tried to extract value on the river. In this next hand we have ace king on the button. There's 3 limpers to us. We're going to make it $25 on the button. Only the big blind calls us. So we go heads up to a flop of ace 7-4, 2 diamonds and a club. The big blind checks to us, and we bet $40 into $60. If he has an ace, we want to charge it. If he has a diamond draw, we want to charge it. Otherwise, there's no point in down betting or going for less value. The big blind does in fact call. Turn comes the 6 of hearts. Big blind actually leads out here for $20. I call, not sure what's going on. Maybe I should raise here so he's not blocker betting or setting his own price, but we do in fact decide to play it safe as we're playing against a pretty tight, relatively tight player. River brings a king of spades, so in all honesty, I don't think it really changes much because if he had 5-8, 5-3, the straight was already there on the turn. If he has a set of 7s or 4s, he's obviously beating us, and any worse ace is probably not going to call any raise if we do raise on the river. He does lead again out for $20 into the $180 pot. I can probably raise here some of the time, but I don't think I'm getting a call from a worse ace X in this position, And if we do get raised by a set or the straight, we're just in a really bad spot. So I do decide to just call, and he does show ace queen, and our ace king is good in the spot. Not sure if I played this next hand right, but we're under the gun with 9-8 of hearts. You know I love those suited connectors. We open for $15, the +1 and the big blind call. We go 3 ways to flop of 9-8-5, 2 spades and a diamond. The big blind checks to us, and we're going to continue c-betting with the middle pair. So we bet $20 into the 46. The +1 and the big blind both call. So we go 3 ways to the turn. Comes the 5 of clubs. When the big blind checks to me, I don't think there's any reason to continue betting, because with 3 ways after them calling the flop, they're most likely holding some queen X hand. So I do decide to check, and the +1 checks as well behind. River comes at 8 of clubs, so now we're filled up, 8s full of 5s. The big blind actually leads out here for $50 into 106. We have an easy raise here. If we call and the +1 folds, then we're not getting the value for our boat. So we do decide to just raise it up to $200. I think I might have oversized a bit too much here. Maybe I min click it to 100 or put it up to 125 to 150. But I do in fact bet $200, and both players fold relatively quickly. Next hand we have ace queen of hearts and spade in the cutoff. Hijack limps. We're obviously going to pop this hand up to $20. The button and the small blind call, big blind and hijack fold, so you go 3 ways to a flop. Comes jack 8-5 rainbow. Small blind checks, of course, with our perceived range of having any jack X, queen X, king X, ace X hand. We're going to continue betting, so we bet $40 into 66, hoping to just take down the dead money. Button does in fact call, and the small blind fold, so we go heads up to a turn. Turn's pretty good after bluffing and c-betting the flop. It comes the queen of clubs, so now there's a club draw, and we have top. I decide to check it here because I'm trying to incentivize him to bet with whatever jack X holding he has. If I lead out here, it's not likely that he calls or raises, and I'm not sure if we're going to get as much value as we possibly could. So I do decide to change up the play here, and I check it. The button does in fact bet like I thought. They bet $40 and have 200 behind. We have an easy call here, looking to jam it in for a pot size bet at the end and hopefully get their money in. So we do call. River comes the queen of diamonds. So now we for sure want to go for any value with a non-believing jack X hand, and it's very unlikely that we have any type of queen X hand here. Best thing we could possibly have would be a 9-10 open-ended straight on the flop and hitting the straight on the turn. We do decide to jam it all in with the trip queens, and the button sadly enough folds. Next hand we have queen jack of spades and the low jack. Under the gun limps it. We're going to raise it up to $20. The small blind and big blind call, and the under the gun folds. We go 3 ways to a flop, which comes jack 10-4 rainbow. We have top pair and good kicker. Small blind, big blind check to us, so we're going to continue betting. We decide to bet 50% of the pot, 30 into 63. Small blind folds and big blind calls. Turn comes a 5 of spades. The big blind checks, and they have about 100 to 120 behind, so we're going to try to bet for value and then try to get all the money in on the river on any safe card. So we do bet $30, and the big blind does in fact call. River comes a 9 of spades. We're blocking most straight draws, so it's unlikely that they do have a straight because we have the queen of spades. Rainbow board as well, so no flush draws get there. The big blind checks us. I think we have an easy all-in here for $90 to $100 into the $183 pot. So we do jam it all in, and the big blind folds. So this is basically our mid-session update. We were in the game for $560. The $60 would be the tip chips. We were out for $975. That's a profit of $415. That was a 4-hour session. We're going to take the dinner break and then head back to the tables for the rest of our 2-hour session. And it's $975 because I tipped those blue $1 chips to the cage lady. So we're back in the game. This time we buy in deep for $1,000 because there's another player that just ran super hot apparently on the table who's in for 3,000. Everyone else is about 500 or less effective. Of course, that person in front of us is only $15 effective. Anyways, onto the hand. We're under the gun with Ace-8 of clubs. We open for $15. The +1 in the big blind call. We go 3 ways to a flop, which comes King 4-7, 2 diamonds and a club. Big blind checks to us. We have backdoor equity to the clubs as well as an ace. So we c-bet 30 into 46, hoping to take down the pot. +1 folds and the big blind tank calls. Turn brings the 9 of hearts. The big blind checks to us. We're gonna down bet a bit here from the sizing of the pot. So we bet $45 into 106, hoping to just take it down. This down bet basically accomplishes what we would want with any type of value bet. We're obviously going to get called by King X's, so we can shut down on the river if called. And if they don't have anything at all, we're going to take down the pot, risking as little as possible. In this next hand, we have pocket fives under the gun. We make it $15. Only the big blind calls us. Flop comes amazing. 4-5-5. We flop quads. Big blind checks to us. We're going to down bet, of course, $10 into 31, hoping that they call us with any ace x king x hand or something like that, or pocket pair. The big blind actually, weirdly enough, raises us to $30, so weird check raise line from him. We're not going to raise it again. There's no reason to. We want to keep him interested in the pot, and most likely he's going to bet the turn. So we just in fact call. Turn brings a 7 of diamonds. The big blind checks to us, and after that check I feel like there's a bit of weakness in his hand, so I don't want to bet and have him fold here, so I do decide to check it back. On the Jack of Spades river, the big blind does in fact bet again, $30. So this is perfect. We wanted to keep his bluffs in, and it happened. If he does have a value hand, we're obviously going to raise, so we min click it up to $75, and the big blind does fold. Sadly enough, he said he had pocket deuces, and of course we show the table our quad fives flop. We have one of my favorite hands in this next hand, Jack 10 of diamonds in the cutoff. I love these suited connectors, like you guys know. Under the gun opens for $15. +1, hijack, myself, call, small blind, big blind, fold. We go 4 ways to a flop, which comes King 6-8, 2 spades, and a heart. It checks around. There's no reason for me to bet at all. I don't have any equity on this hand unless I go runner. The turn brings a 10 of hearts, so when this 10 comes, I'm pretty sure I have the best hand. If anyone had a king, they'd bet on the flop to protect their king and go for value. So when it checks to me, I bet 40 into 64. 1, trying to charge any spade or heart draw, and 2, just trying to charge value for any worse hand, knowing that I have the better hand and that any king x hand probably and most likely would have bet on the flop. So I bet 40 into 64, and they all, as expected, do fold. We wake up in the next hand with ace jack suited in the small blind. Low jack limps. We make it $16. The big blind folds and the low jack calls. Go heads up to a flop, which comes 4, 6, 7, 2 clubs, and a spade. I decide to check this board. If I c-bet, we are really only looking to hit our ace jack, and this board most likely hits a limp caller's range more so than mine, even though I am in the small blind. So we check it, and the low jack checks it. Turn helps us out a lot. It's the jack of spades, so now we're going to go for value, of course. We bet $20, and the low jack calls. The river comes the 5 of spades. Not too good of a card for us. The gutter ball is there, obviously, now, so any 8x or 3x hand, which could have been in the low jack's range, is there. We do decide to go into check call mode, so we check it, and the low jack checks it back, and our ace jack is good. These last 4 hands I'm about to go over are probably the most eventful and probably the most fun to go over for the vlog. And we are in the cutoff with pocket sixes. Under the gun limps. Under the gun +1 makes it $16. He's a pretty good player. I played with him before in a tournament, so I know he's not just donking off money. I decide to call to set mine with my sixes here. The small blind, big blind fold, and the under the gun limper also calls. So we go 3 ways to flop. Flop comes 9, 3, 6, 2 hearts and a club. Pretty good flop for us. We flop middle set. Under the gun checks it. The +1 continues for $35. At this point, I think he has either some ace x hand or he has a really strong pocket pair hand. I decide to just flat and keep the under the gun in, as well as any bluffs that the under the gun +1 might have. Under the gun actually goes all in for effectively $158. The +1 tanks for a pretty long time and ends up making the call. I think he forgot that I was in the hand, and when I decide to just rip it all in, protecting my middle set against heart draws or straight draws, he looks at me and says, "Oh shit, I forgot you were basically in the hand." And he has about $300 behind after calling the 158 from the under the gun. He folds his pocket kings, and we go heads up to a turn and river once. The turn brings the 9 of clubs, and the river brings the 4 of spades. The under the gun shows 9-3, and we are devastated to the 2 outers. So really rough hand to be in after getting it in good and having the under the gun limp call with 9-3 and only having 2 outers to hit. And we lose a pretty decently sized pot, but no big deal. On to the next one. Again, we have a pocket pair in this hand. We have pocket 4s in the cutoff. The under the gun limps it. We make it $15, trying to just take down dead money. Button and under the gun call. So we go 3 ways to flop, which comes 4, 5, 10. 2 diamonds and a club. So now this time we flop the bottom set. Under the gun checks it. I make it $20. The button calls and the under the gun folds. Turn comes the 6 of spades. Not too good of a card for us, but at least the diamonds didn't get there. I bet 60 into 89, trying to charge any flush draws and try to figure out if I beat by some straight. The button, who's an older gentleman, actually raises us to $160 with about $200 behind. At the time, I just jammed the $200 behind in, put them all in with my set, trying to protect the bottom set. But I should have realized that he's probably not raising us with any worse than pocket 10s or pocket 5s. And there's no way he has deuce 3 or 7-8 because he's not the type of player to call those types of hands pre-flop after I raise. So realistically, there should be only 5s or 10s in his range when he's raising us like that. There shouldn't be any 2 pairs because we block 4-5, and obviously 10-5 is another hand that he would not be calling pre-flop. So I did jam it in, but in hindsight, of course, this is probably a spot that I should just flat or fold. If I flat, I can reevaluate the river and check it to him. If he jams it, I can fold it. But of course, I'm still tilted from the 9-3-2 outer. So I do jam it in at this point, and he doesn't think too long before pushing his chips forward. The river comes at 8 of hearts, which is obviously not another good card. There shouldn't be too many 7Xs in either of our ranges, but it is not a good card nonetheless. I show my pocket 4s, expecting the bad news, and he does in fact flip over pocket 10s. So we flop set over set, and we're in just a world of pain, doubling up 2 players in basically back-to-back hands. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tilted at this point, but in our next hand we have king, queen, hearts, diamond in the small blind, the bunch straddles on. We open for $21 in the small blind, and we get 4 callers. So 5 ways to flop, which comes jack, queen, deuce, rainbow. It's a pretty decent flop for us. We're going to go for value out of position here. So we bet 70 into 105. Only the hijack calls us, so we go heads up to a turn, which comes the ace of spades. I like to check in this spot, looking to check call and try to get showdown value for our hand. Pot's already 245, so we have pretty good showdown value for our hand, and if he floated an ace, then so be it. But I think we have a pretty good check calling hand down to the river, so we do in fact check, and the hijack checks as well. River comes to 6 of spades, doesn't change too much, so we continue with our plan, deciding to check call. He shouldn't have too many backdoor flushes in this spot if he didn't bet on the turn with more equity, so we check looking to check call, but he just checks it back, and he shows us jack 9 offsuit, and our king queen is good, and we scoop down this pot. Last hand we go over, we're in the button style is on, we have queen, jack, diamond, club. The small blind, big blind fold it, hijack, cutoff, call the $6, and I make it $36 to go with a pretty decent hand on the straddle that I can squeeze with. Hijack and cutoff both call. Flop comes favorable for us. It comes 4, 6, queen, 2 hearts, and a club. So he flopped top pair with a good kicker. Hijack and cutoff both check to me. I'm going to c-bet this board, $80 into 112. Hijack folds, cutoff raises, min click to $160. I don't think we're going to fold here. I think he might be thinking that we're bluffing and just squeezing on the button. Obviously, the button straddle gives us a pretty good advantage because we could be playing any 2 cards. But, of course, with top pair, we're not going to be folding here. So we call the min click for 160. Turn comes with 3 of diamonds. Cutoff goes all in for $300. I snap called pretty quickly, and the only reason being is that he just rebought $500 after making a really bad call previously. He's been playing tight up until that previous $500 all-in that he had, so I think he might be tilted at this point. And we obviously have top pair, and the 3 of diamonds doesn't really change much that he should be limp calling with from us pre-flop, $36. So I do in fact snap call 300, and the river brings the 10 of hearts. He's ready to muck his hand, so I just go ahead and show Queen Jack offsuit, and he mucks his cards without showing. So after all said and done, we did get cooler twice, but we managed to book a profit of $187 after snap calling that Queen Jack button straddle hand. We're in for $1,060 and out for $1,247. So not bad at all for getting cooler to the 2 outer and the set over set. I included this little hand from the tournament that we were hosting that night too. It was aces over 4s flop set, and then the river came a 4. So little gross spot that I wanted to include at the end of the vlog. Hope everyone enjoys this one. Like and subscribe. See you guys in the next one.